Okay, I thought it was time to dig out my camera and all its tapes. I thought it was time to do a whole great big update video to post on the Maritime Man for you guys who have been ever so patiently waiting for an update. I'm going to get right to it. First we'll start off with the computers that have left us. As you probably know, I'm not sure if I ever mentioned it in an actual video or not, but the Acer Extensive 501DX from 1999, that thing is dead. I threw that out last year actually, way back last June of 2010. That thing just had too many problems. It had a battery that was no good, an AC adapter jack that had become desoldered from the motherboard, so it wasn't keeping a connection. The screen hinges broke, and before I threw it out, the left mouse button started to break. So I just I kept the processor, RAM, and hard drive, and and the keyboard, and I just threw the thing away. So that thing's gone. The custom built computer too, right here, this has died. It died of either a power supply failure or a motherboard failure. Either way, it killed the motherboard while I was testing some hard drives I got from school in it. It was running fine off a 6GB Quantum Fireball hard drive with Windows 98 on it. That was running fine, and I left the room, and when I came back it was frozen solid, and there was a very yucky smell protruding from it, and I turned it off and checked everything. Everything looked fine, but when I turned it back on, it never came on again. It went the way of the original custom built computer. Just the lights and fans came on, but there was no other sign of life. So I threw away the power supply, threw away the motherboard. Now it's just an empty case, which I'm hoping to sell. I'd like to get 15 bucks for it. So that's the custom built computer too. May it rest in pieces. And finally, the Packard Bell 7955C, my mother's computer from 1999. That thing is dead as well. It had a hard drive failure, which you guys know me, I wouldn't have thrown away a computer for that. I would have just gotten a new hard drive for it and it'd be on its merry way. But it was Mom's computer and she ordered it to the garbage. So I saved the RAM, processor, and the CD-ROM drive from that, and probably a couple other parts, and that went to the dump. So may that rest in pieces. But enough with the dead computers now. There are quite a few new computers that you guys haven't seen on video before, so I'm gonna start with all the computers that are still with us. There's no better computer to start off with than this, the computer you all know and love, my baby, the Compaq Presario 5360 from 1999. This computer has an AMD K62 processor running at 450 MHz. It has 128 megabytes of RAM, a 10 GB hard drive. It's got a 3.5-inch floppy disk drive, a DVD-RW drive, and I added this Trevan drive I got from school. If you don't know what Trevan is, Trevan drives use these magnetic tapes, and this specific tape and that specific drive can store 3.2 gigabytes per tape compressed, or 1.6 gigabytes uncompressed. But I got that drive, and I have these tapes because right down there is a Seagate parallel port Trevan drive that I got from the thrift store for $1, and it came with 2 of these tapes. And it works absolutely perfect, but it only works with Windows 3.1, 95, and 98, and probably Millennium. So I got this drive because this computer runs Windows 2000, and I was hoping this drive I could get it working with these tapes, and I could do some storage using these Trevan tapes using that drive and that external drive, but I can't even get that drive working. So right now it's just filling in the hole. The Compaq always had a hole there below the floppy drive, but at least now it's filled in. This computer, it's not used as a desktop system anymore. This thing's a server now, which I think is pretty neat, and this computer was retired, as you guys might remember, but I've put it back into service. You could still consider it retired because it's not used as a desktop computer anymore, but it still has its uses. This thing is a file server and a print server for me now. I have my printer, an HP DeskJet 932C from 2000. I have the printer hooked up to this, and I can print to it from any computer in the house except Mom's computer, Mom's laptop, because that's not on my work group, but all of my computers are on a work group, and any of them can print, and the print job is sent to this computer, which then processes it and sends it to my printer. So that's pretty cool. And this thing's a file server because I got a bunch of hard drives from school. I got probably 40 or 50 gigabytes worth of hard drives, 4 or 5 hard drives, and there's one internal 3.5-inch bay down here, and there are various hard drives I put in it. Right now I only need one hard drive in it, the 40 gigabyte hard drive from that computer, and that hard drive has a bunch of video that's not even been rendered. So this computer is storing all that, and I can access that video from any computer on the work group. So yeah, now we'll take a look inside this thing. Alright, starting with the top of the case here, the DVD-RW drive, the Quantum Bigfoot TS 10GB main hard drive with Windows 2000 on it. I got a fan here now. It plugs into a Molex, and it has an extension Molex, so I can still use the same cord to plug in the optical drive here. Very, very funny story with this fan. It's an orange thermal take fan. It's very nice and quiet. Very hilarious story with this fan. This fan, this year in school I had a tech support class where it was basically Cisco's IT Essentials course to prepare you to take the CompTIA A+ certification to make you a qualified computer technician. And this fan was in a computer we were fixing for another teacher whose computer was, oh my god, we called it the Aces from Hell. It was an absolute mess. It had so many motherboard problems, and it even destroyed my flash drive when I plugged it in the USB port to put a driver on it. But we junked it later, thank god. That thing was terrible. But this fan was in it, and it was in some sort of plastic enclosure thing, some proprietary thing, so it could fit in that particular computer. And we just couldn't get it out of that enclosure, so our computer teacher comes along, pushes as hard as he can on the middle of the fan, and this blade and motor assembly pops right out of this orange part, and we thought it was so funny. So we call it the mutilated orange fan. As you can obviously see, I did get it glued back together. There's 2 spots. You can see one down there, and where's the other? And the other right there with the wires threaded through it. That's where that's the 2 points where it broke. So I super glued them back together, and it's a good fan now. The teacher said I could take it home if I wanted, because he wouldn't trust it again. He thought it would probably, if I super glued it, it would probably just break again later. But it's been holding up good for a few months now. So that's that. So this fan blows out air just like the power supply fan. I used to have it sucking in air, but it was so noisy that I just set it to blow out again, and I think that's the best way to have fans set up anyway. I don't think on a computer any fan should be sucking in air, because when the fans blow out air, it just passively sucks in air through any holes, like through there or through the floppy drive or any vents. So that's that. That is one jumble of wires. Power supply, I'm not going to take it off to show you in there, but somewhere buried behind all them wires is the CPU and CPU fan. There's the 40 gigabyte hard drive, Maxtor Diamond Max Plus 8, and that's connected on the first IDE bus with the main hard drive. And then we have the Trevan drive, which is hooked up on the second IDE bus with the optical drive, and then the floppy drive. Now, I've added some new expansion cards on this. In the computer lab, we had a box of very old ISA and PCI expansion cards, and the teacher said I could take a couple. So first what I got, you guys all know how much I've wanted a new video card for this thing, so that's what I got. So right here is a, what is it, an ATI Rage Pro Turbo PCI video card. And as you can see, it has a composite output on it, and that's one of the main reasons I took this card, was because with the composite output I can hook it up to a television, which is great because this is my only monitor now. The Compaq V570 monitor that has been in my videos for such a long time, that's dead too. The cord finally gave out on that. Same old Ethernet card. And this card, this is an ISA sound card. It's an ESS 1868 based Compaq sound card. And the reason I took this sound card was because it has a hardware volume control on it, a hardware volume wheel, which I thought was pretty great. And it's an amplified sound card, which is why it has a hardware volume wheel on it. So, I know it's dark. That's the card right there, and it actually has a hookup for an internal speaker. So what I'd like to do is buy a speaker on eBay or otherwise sometime and just glue it right on the floor here and have it connected to that sound card. And then the Presario here can have internal sound, which would be nice. So yeah, that's it. So there's the rest of the back, all the ports and everything. So now we'll plug it in and turn it on. Okay, I got a mouse and keyboard hooked up, got the monitor hooked up, everything's plugged in, monitor's turned on. Can't do much about the screen flicker because the screen's set to 85 Hertz. So I'll just log in here. Now, if you remember, I said this thing has 128 megabytes of RAM. You might be wondering, wait a minute, Trent, didn't this have 256 megabytes of RAM? And yes, it did. In fact, at one point, after the Packard Bell died, I actually had 512 megabytes in this. But then I got another computer that I kind of needed the RAM for, which I'll show you later. So this thing now just has the original 128 megabytes it had when I got it. So we're in Windows 2000 now. Let me just set the screen. There, that's a lot better, isn't it? Oh, gotta click yes. And as you can see, I can choose between two monitors, generic television or ViewSonic G771, and no matter which one, it doesn't matter which one I choose. It's on generic television, but it's acting just like it's on a regular monitor. So I'll get out of that. And as you can see, 3D Rage Pro PCI. Very nice video card, although I haven't been able to test it because this thing's just a server now. So we have the floppy drive, the main hard drive, and the hard drive called video, which is shared on my network. 26 gigabytes in use, 11 gigabytes free. I have a lot of unedited and edited video on here. So that's that. So there's not much else to show here. If we go into printers, you see my printer, HP DeskJet 932C, which is shared on my network. And that's about it. So now we'll shut her down. cool. This thing's a good server.